Have you ever heard the doorbell ring and instantly felt a wave of dread? Not excitement, not curiosity, just that quiet thought in the back of your mind. Oh no, someone's here. If that reaction sounds familiar, chances are you've spent a long time feeling a little guilty about it. After all, society tells us that having guests is supposed to be a joy. A good person is a welcoming host. The door is always open, the table is always full, and the house is filled with laughter. Movies show perfectly curated dinner parties. Commercials show friends dropping by unannounced, and everyone smiling as if it's the highlight of their day. On social media, we see beautifully arranged tables, candles glowing, wine glasses clinking, and captions about hosting the best night ever. But real life often feels very different. For many people, the idea of someone staying in their home doesn't feel cozy or fun. It feels like pressure. Pressure to clean more, cook better, entertain constantly, and somehow make the experience memorable. And when you secretly wish the visit would end sooner rather than later, another feeling shows up. Guilt. You start wondering, what's wrong with me? Am I antisocial? Why does everyone else seem to love this? But here's the truth most people never talk about. Feeling uneasy about house guests is far more common than you think, and psychologically, it makes perfect sense. To understand why the idea of house guests can feel so uncomfortable, we have to look at something deeply wired into the human brain: our need for a safe sanctuary. From an evolutionary perspective, humans have always been territorial creatures. For thousands of years, survival depended on having a secure place to retreat: a cave, a shelter, a camp protected from predators, harsh weather, and rival groups. That space wasn't just physical protection. It was psychological safety. Your brain still carries that ancient programming today. In the modern world, your apartment or house plays the exact same role. It is your personal base of operations, the one environment where your nervous system can finally relax. At home, you control the lighting, the temperature, the noise level, and most importantly, the rhythm of your day. You decide when to eat, when to sleep, and how quiet or chaotic the space will be. Psychologists refer to this sense of control as environmental autonomy, the ability to shape and regulate the environment around you. But when a guest enters your home, that autonomy changes instantly. Suddenly, the ecosystem of your space becomes unpredictable. Your brain has to account for another person's needs, habits, and presence. You might hesitate before walking into the kitchen late at night. You might adjust the thermostat, lower the music, or rethink your normal routines. Even if the guest is someone you genuinely like, your brain subtly shifts from a state of relaxation to a state of awareness. You are no longer completely alone in your sanctuary. You are being observed. And that small psychological shift, moving from total freedom to quiet self-monitoring, is often the first reason why hosting guests can feel far more draining than most people expect. But the disruption of your personal space is only part of the story. The deeper stress often comes from something far less visible: the pressure to perform as the perfect host. In most cultures, especially in the United States, there's an unspoken script about what good hosting looks like. The house should be clean, the fridge should be stocked, towels should be neatly folded, meals should appear effortless, conversations should flow naturally, and everyone should feel entertained. On the surface, it sounds simple. In reality, it creates a surprising amount of mental pressure. The moment someone stays in your home, you're no longer just living your normal life. In a subtle way, you become the manager of the experience. Your brain begins running a constant background checklist. Are they comfortable? Are they hungry? Are they bored? Did I clean the bathroom well enough? Psychologists often describe this kind of invisible effort as emotional labor. It's the mental work involved in managing not only tasks, but also feelings, your own and other people's. You monitor the mood of the room, keep conversations going, and hide any signs of fatigue or irritation. Over time, this creates a form of cognitive overload. At the same time, many hosts experience what could be called a kind of domestic imposter syndrome. You start wondering whether your home, your cooking, or your lifestyle will measure up. Even small details, dust on a shelf or a simple dinner, can suddenly feel like they're being evaluated. So instead of relaxing in your own space, you find yourself on stage, performing the role of the perfect host. And the strange irony is this: the one place in the world where you're supposed to be off-duty has quietly turned into a performance. At this point, you might be wondering why some people seem to love having guests, while others feel exhausted by the very idea. The answer often comes down to something psychologists call your social battery. We use this phrase casually, but it actually reflects real differences in how people's brains process stimulation. One of the most well-known explanations comes from psychologist Hans Eysenk's arousal theory. According to this theory, introverts and extroverts have different baseline levels of activity in the brain's arousal system. Introverts tend to start with a higher level of internal stimulation, which means their nervous systems are more easily overwhelmed by additional input. Extroverts, on the other hand, start at a lower baseline and often seek out social interaction, noise, and excitement to feel energized. In simple terms, what feels lively and energizing to one person can feel mentally draining to another. Dopamine also plays a role here. Social interaction triggers the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine. Extroverts typically have a higher threshold for this stimulation, meaning they need more of it to feel satisfied. Introverts are often more sensitive to it, so prolonged social interaction can quickly push their nervous system into overload. Now consider what happens when someone becomes an overnight guest in your home. Normally, after a long day of social interaction, you can return to your own space and recharge in silence. But when the guest is already in your house, that escape disappears. The background awareness of another person's presence keeps your brain in a mild state of social engagement. Without moments of true solitude, your nervous system never fully resets. Over time, that constant low-level stimulation drains your social battery, leaving you tired, irritable, and quietly counting down the hours until your home feels like yours again. Beyond social pressure and mental fatigue, there are two quieter forces that often make hosting feel far more draining than people realize: sensory overload and routine disruption. First, let's talk about sensory overload. When someone else is in your home, the environment immediately changes. There are more sounds, conversations, footsteps, doors opening and closing. There's more movement in the space, more energy in the air, and often more constant interaction. For people with sensitive nervous systems, especially those known as highly sensitive people, this increase in stimulation can quickly become overwhelming. Your brain is processing more voices, more social cues, and more activity than usual. Even if nothing dramatic is happening, the nervous system is quietly working harder than normal. Then there's the disruption of routine. Most people rely on small daily habits to keep their mental and emotional balance stable: when they wake up, when they eat, how they wind down at night, or how they spend quiet moments alone. These routines create predictability, and the brain thrives on predictability. But when guests stay over, those rhythms often shift. Sleep schedules change. Meals happen at different times. Even simple things like relaxing on the couch or walking around the house freely can feel different. On top of that comes decision fatigue, constantly choosing what to do, where to go, or what to serve. Individually, these changes seem small, but together they quietly add up to a level of mental strain many hosts never expect.
Oh, great! You spilled it all over the floor!
It was an accident. Don't make such a big deal out of it.
So, how do you navigate a world that celebrates open doors when what you really need is a little more quiet? The first step is reframing how you see your home. Your house is not a public hospitality service, it's your psychological recharge station. Protecting that space isn't selfish. It's a form of mental self-care. That means learning to set clear boundaries. It's perfectly okay to say, "I'd love to see you, but I'm not able to host overnight guests right now." You can still connect with people, just in ways that don't drain your energy. If you do host, try time-boxing the visit. Setting a clear start and end time gives your brain a finish line, which immediately reduces stress. And finally, let go of the myth of the perfect host. The people who truly care about you aren't judging your house. They're there to see you. If this topic resonates with you, subscribe to the channel for more psychology insights and leave a comment below. Do you enjoy having guests, or does it secretly drain your social battery? Your experience might help someone else feel understood.